What's up, everybody? How's it going? Ryan here, back with you in 2019 with another episode of the DeepThoughts podcast with my co-host, as always, Pixel_Pusher 101. How's it going, Pixel?
Hey guys, that's going great. Enjoying the new
Yeah,
year.
it's 2 days in. It's pretty lit.
Yeah, it's not bad
Yeah,
so
yeah.
far.
I won Monopoly last night, so first time ever playing, so I'm pretty happy.
Starting off the
Yeah,
new year
man.
right.
How was Christmas break? And I know we've been on break for a while, guys, but how was Christmas break for you?
It was all right. I went back home to New York City, visited some
Okay.
family, and yeah, just hitting up the old stomping
Nice.
grounds. It feels really different now. Like I feel like LA's my home now.
Because you've been here for a long
So
time, from what I remember. So
yeah, like almost 9
yeah,
years
yeah.
now.
Pixel and I hung out. I think 2 days before you were supposed to go out, right, or something.
Yeah. We went to Little
So
Tokyo.
yeah, that was good. That was good. Before we get started, guys, just a quick reminder that first of all, we don't have any news today. This episode is just going to be a year in review of 2018 pertaining to Twitch. Not really a review, but mostly just a reminiscing, I guess, but I don't know what else to call it. Another side note is I am still have this like lingering cough, which apparently everyone's been getting. Like everyone has the same symptoms of me. It's just I'm congested, I'm coughing, but that's it. I have no fever, no sore throat, nothing. But there will be maybe some pauses on my end with your guys' audio because I'm probably going to have to like ninja mute the mic if I'm coughing or something. And Pixel will be there to fill in the dead space, I guess, during that time. And then as always, remember, follow us on Spotify and iTunes. As always, go there, subscribe to that stuff. If you guys need the links for that, that's in the episode description down below. So I guess we're just going to jump right into it. 2018 year review of Twitch. There's actually a lot of stuff that happened, I feel like, in 2018 on Twitch. I feel like, low-key, it was a pretty big year for Twitch.
For Twitch, yeah. Like, not just the company itself, but the things that happen on Twitch.
Right.
And I think this is the year where Twitch kind of just exploded.
Yeah.
And I think no one expected
this. I will say that like 2016 is apparently when we got Twitch Prime, and I thought 2017 was going to be a pretty big year, and I believe Affiliate and Twitch Prime came out, or announced at least in 2016, came out in 2017.
Yes.
And so I thought that was going to be a big year. And I guess that was kind of just like the, introduction to a big year. We saw a lot of people moving from streaming platforms or hearing about streaming platforms for the first time, even maybe. And YouTube content creators starting to live stream a lot more as well, is what at least from my perspective, that's what I saw. A lot of my friends who didn't know about Twitch heard about it a little bit more purely because of this affiliate program. And I feel like the theme for 2018, at least for Twitch now, is just the way you describe Twitch to friends is just totally changed. I feel like for the last couple of years, whenever someone's like, wait, what's Twitch? Or when I say, have you ever heard of Twitch? And they're like, what's that? And it was like, a lot of the times when they didn't know, like the easiest way to explain it was just, oh, it's YouTube, but it's all live content. And like, oh, because everyone knows YouTube. But I feel like this year especially, it's like, hey, do you know what Twitch is? And they're like, oh yeah, I know what Twitch is. I'm getting that like a lot more from people, like normies or people who don't really like play video games or anything like that. So I thought that was really, really interesting for me this year especially. That you kind of have that description change, and we see Twitch, for better or worse, going into the mainstream media. For some things for good, right? Some things for bad or whatever. But we can probably dive into that a little bit later. I will say also, this year feels like the early years of Twitter, where I was an early adopter, and the only people who are using Twitter, I feel like, were people from like the screensavers or like tech people, basically. And then you saw people like Ashton Kutcher or P. Diddy or Justin Bieber or like these celebrities start using Twitter, and that's kind of when Twitter like blew up, right? I feel like that
Right.
kind of happened in a way this year on Twitch as well. We saw a lot of celebrities coming to onto Twitch just to stream and to kind of connect with their fan base in an even more intimate way than, say, on Twitter, right? We have like Post Malone streaming on Twitch. We saw like Drake
Mm-hmm.
streaming on Twitch. We've seen a lot of rappers and like just celebrities in general just like really embracing Twitch.
Right. And before this, the only streamer that I knew of that was famous was actually a player for the San Francisco Giants. What was his name? I think it was
Oh, Hunter
Hunter something.
Pence. Yeah.
Hunter Pence, yeah. And he played Hearthstone a lot.
Yeah.
And I was like, this is really cool. Like to see someone a part of like a sports and a public
Right.
figure just hop on the Twitch and just play a game. Like, it was
Yeah, I
really
feel
cool.
like the new person now is Trevor May. He's the guy that usually duos with Tim the Tatman, but he is a pitcher
Mhm.
for the Twins, baseball pitcher
Oh,
as
okay.
well, and he's been streaming on Twitch a lot, like pretty consistently when he doesn't have. Basically, when he doesn't have, I feel like with Hunter Pence, like I don't know, I don't really watch his stream anymore. I don't know if he's still streaming consistently, but like Trevor May has like a consistent schedule. And I feel like it might be something that
Wow.
he might do full time if he were to retire from Major League Baseball or something. I think he's like 6 or 7 years in his career, and
Mhm.
baseball's not like baseball. You can go quite a long time playing. I feel like professionally, so maybe
Right.
not there yet. But I mean, he's like consistently like has a stream schedule and updates people on Twitter and stuff like that. Whereas I feel like still with some celebrities, it's like, yeah, I'm just gonna turn it on. You know what I mean? Like because I want to. But yeah, I mean, that was like I guess Hunter Pence was definitely like the first person I can really think about as well. That was like a celebrity,
Mhm.
like a normie celebrity,
Yeah,
like on Twitch or whatever.
yeah, exactly.
Just to give some statistics though that I randomly just looked up, so I don't know how exactly accurate these are. In 2017, we had about 1.5 million broadcasters and roughly about 100 million viewers per month. It said views slash viewers in the article.
Mhm.
I would also like to add, or well, we'll get to that in a sec. And then in 2018, they were saying 2.2 million broadcasters with 15 million active users, with 1 million concurrent users at any given time, which is pretty crazy, with
Mhm.
around 300 million viewers per month.
That's a
Which is
lot.
a lot, and I think that equates to a lot of things. Some of the stuff that we're going to be talking about in a bit. Spoiler alert: Fortnite and League of Legends. We also saw, I feel like, a big boom of esports. I feel like in the last couple of years, it was really hard to find esports on Twitch, or maybe every once in a while there would be some type of competitive esport that was streamed. But nowadays, it's like there's almost too many esports events every single weekend that are happening, whether it be a
Right.
fighting game tournament, a league tournament, a Fortnite tournament, whatever it may be. There's been a lot of tournaments that have been happening. I feel like there's just been this
Mhm.
big explosion of esports as well as the last year, where almost a game can't
Right.
survive if it doesn't have an esport, which is kind of crazy to me.
Yeah, it's really interesting. Like you see games come out and they're immediately announcing like a competition or something like that, and they have prize pools with $100,000 or $1 million or
Right, and the
something like
game's like
that.
still in alpha or like beta or whatever, or people are signing people,
Yeah, it's
which
so
happened with Fortnite as well. I think midway through this year is when they really announced like their esports like plans, and they're still not really
Mhm.
fleshed out. They kind of are, but not to like a certain
Yeah,
extent, you know.
right. Like, I mean, I would love to see some sort of like matchmaking ladder or something like that. It's like an MMR kind of system to get people playing ranked mode or
Yeah,
something
I
like that.
think their design philosophy is that they're never going to have that in the actual game, but if you want to join a cup, which are the tournaments they have or whatever, those have ranked MMR in them or whatever, because
Okay.
the way those work is depending on your placement and how many kills you get points, and then from those points you get a certain badge, and then you're ranked with other people in your lobby that have that same rank and or badge, and then that badge is publicly
Okay.
visible on your profile. So I think right now maximum to qualify for a tournament is about 30 points, and so your profile will forever have these badges on your profile. So I think it's to show like potential like uh esports organizations who are scouting, like, oh look, this guy has like 7 or 9 badges saying that he qualified for these official Fortnite tournaments, like in game, and so these
Gotcha.
badges are kind
Okay.
of a bragging right, but then also potential of scouting. But I think they said that unfortunately, fortunately or unfortunately, depending on what you think about it, they are leaving the MMR out of Fortnite in the regular game. I think just
Mm.
because they said there's just like it dulls the fun of the game. So that was their like right like let's say you're like Ninja and you have a
Interesting.
really high MMR, or you're whoever, like a pro player. Like just think of like if you just want to
Mm-hmm.
casually stream the game, like you can't, because you're probably gonna have like a bunch of super competitive, super good, super high MMR players like in your game. You know what I mean? So
True. True.
I don't know. I guess that's their way of balancing it. But yeah, Twitch has, just from those numbers alone, Twitch has blown up a lot. I also, which isn't in the show notes, guys, but I was also looking at, unfortunately, I can't find it, an article talking about the top 10 most viewed streams of the year. Number one was, of course, Ninja, who took everything away. I thought it was kind of interesting though, because last year we had Summit 1G at 3 million followers, who was the most followed person, and now we have Ninja
Mm-hmm.
this year at 10 million plus followers by the end of the year, which is crazy. And there's a tweet from Ninja at the
Insane.
beginning or at the end of 2017 where he shouted out and said, "Thank you guys so much for 1,000 subscribers. I finally hit that mark after 6 years of streaming." Which, once again,
Insane.
insane growth. I will also point out that in 2017, the most watched stream was Summit 1G, apparently. And according to the 2018 numbers, his view time would be in the 10th spot in 2018. And he was number 1 in 2017 on view time. If that kind of just shows like the
Man.
explosion of Twitch, not firing shots at any broadcaster. I'm just saying that's incredible growth. Just to think about how
Mm-hmm.
big Twitch has really become.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Like, and like the landscape can change so
Mm-hmm.
fast. Like, just one thing, one game changed the entire website, and we'll get into
Mm-hmm.
this actually. But Fortnite has done so much for this
Right.
website and so much for like esports and this. I don't know. It's changed the entire game.
Yeah, it really has. Let's just dive into that right now, because we might as well. So we kind of broke down our talking points, guys, into basically events, new Twitch features that we would love to touch upon, and then at the end, just very short personal stuff, and then we'll probably be ending it there. But yeah, events. I mean, one of the biggest events that we had to talk about is the BR explosion that happened this year. You know, there was a pretty big explosion, I feel like, at the end of last quarter of 2017. But I mean, with
Mm-hmm.
PUBG and stuff like that. But really, this game came out called Fortnite, which actually Fortnite came out in November of last year of 2017. But it didn't really pick up until a
Yeah.
couple months afterwards, and we just saw this
Mm-hmm.
gigantic explosion of so many like views, normies coming over.
Mm-hmm.
It was in the media. I mean, it
Mm-hmm.
really, in my opinion, I don't think it's as captivating as this, but it felt like a Pokemon Go type of scenario where just everyone knew about
Yes.
Pokemon Go. Everyone was playing Pokemon Go. Now with Fortnite, that necessarily didn't happen. It wasn't like your grandma or your mom was playing it
Mm-hmm.
or whatever, but I
Right.
feel it was on
Right.
that level of
Yeah.
scale for me, definitely.
Yeah, as far as scale goes, yeah, I definitely agree with you. I think it became huge for
Hmm.
different
Hmm.
reasons. Like Pokemon Go, I think was like it captured the magic of Pokemon. It's something that's kind of like really hard to
Hmm.
describe. And it's like, oh, you're wandering the world and you're capturing Pokemon outside. Like that's what Pokemon was
Right.
all about. It's just going out into the world. And that was the first Pokemon game to really capture
Hmm.
that feeling. And Fortnite, you know, I'm actually having a hard time figuring out why Fortnite exploded the way it did.
Um. Yeah.
And maybe it's because like of the graphical style
I,
of it. Maybe
yeah.
that had
Hmm.
something to do with it, but it has to be
I
more than
think
that.
I think it's a lot of factors that blew up Fortnite in general. I think already you had a lot of eyes on PUBG, and you saw a lot of people, right around the time that PUBG hit around, 2 million concurrent players on Steam. That was around the time that I
Mhm.
saw a lot of gripe from my own personal group and other streamers and people just saying, like, this game is garbage, this game is
Yes.
doo doo, whatever, right? You had a lot of streamers saying that
Mhm.
it's trash, what's the next game? And, it was also a $30 game. Then all of a sudden, PUBG says, "Hey, we're going to be announcing this game on console." And literally a week later, Fortnite is still out on PC at this time. Very small type of game, right? But a week after, roughly around a week after PUBG is announced that's going to be on console, Fortnite is approved for console. It's a free-to-play game, totally free. You just have to do cosmetics. It's already on console, so then it hits the console. And I feel like that's what really garnered it. There's a lot more console players, I feel like, than there are PC players, to be honest. And to a lot of people I've talked to who have played Fortnite, they had never even heard of PUBG. They thought that PUBG was a copy of Fortnite when it came out on console. They had no idea. And so I think it's that. I think it's the free-to-play ability. I think it's the simplicity and the game style kind of relates to Call of Duty, so I think it captured a lot of those fans as well. I think with Pokemon Go, like, for better or worse, like it's like that's the problem is, like, with Pokemon Go there was the magic of feeling like you were playing an actual Pokemon game that was meant to be, but then beyond that, once that magic dies, it's like, why do I stick around and keep playing it, right? And there was a lot of factors, I feel like, with Fortnite that led up to it. Not very violent. It's a free-to-play game, and yeah, it's on literally every single platform ever in existence, as well.
Yeah, another big thing that I just remembered too was that PUBG, there was a lot of anger towards that game because they weren't fixing the game, like the obvious bugs, like animation was still an issue. Like, even to this day, I can still see how janky it looks. Like, it's improved, but it's still not quite there. And I think the player base had a lot of they gave a lot of good faith towards Bluehole, the developer, and I think they really squandered it. It left a lot of people wanting a good battle royale game that was tight. It was just like really, really lag free. It was, reactive and just really responsive to your controls. And Fortnite did that. It, like, they had the resources to actually build, servers and have netcode that actually made a really, really functional. And
I mean, it is Epic Games, right? So they just pumped very hard and very fast into that game. Yeah,
and I will say that they do have a pretty unique advantage that other companies don't, which is that they are the creators of the Unreal Engine.
Right.
So they can tweak the game and tweak the engine to support whatever they're trying to do in a way that no one else can. So they have a pretty unique advantage there to help them, and I think that's part of the reason. It's not any one thing. It's definitely like a whole like mess of things that came together and became like this amazing thing.
Which I think shows, which I think is a good thing, and will probably show longevity to Fortnite. For sure. Because with Pokemon Go, it's like once the magic goes away, or once that one thing that is really good about the game, like, what is this game really? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And according to the statistics that were released by Epic, which the latest ones were released in around end of September, early October, the game is still doing incredibly well. Actually, I think it was earlier than that, maybe November, late November. The game is averaging about a 15 million concurrent player base across all devices, PC being one of the biggest. So I don't think you're going to see the game going anywhere soon. I think also a big thing in the reason why Fortnite was so popular is just because of the connectivity of who you can play with, right? Xbox players can play with PlayStation players can play with PC players. You can have an Xbox person, a PlayStation person, an iPad person, and a PC person all playing in one lobby. And it's like one of those things where it doesn't really matter what device you have. You're not locked out of it. Like, oh, do I get the Xbox version or the PlayStation version? Hey, man, it doesn't matter. We can both play the same. Oh, your Xbox broke and you want to buy a PlayStation? It's fine. Your account carries over, which I think is very unique in console games, by the way. You know what I mean? That like cloud saving, like unique. Being able to transfer stuff over, just logging in. I think that's very unique for them. So I think that was a big reason too.
Amazing.
Of Fortnite's success. You also, I believe, and then I think the last thing, one of the big things that happened from what I remember is when I was still on the fence about Fortnite, but it was around the time like what I would call is the boom of Ninja happened. where all of a sudden, like, I was like, wait, where a lot of people initially thought, like, wait, is this guy view botting? He has like 200,000 viewers all the time. And all this stuff, like, and a bunch of people thought he was view botting and stuff like that. And, which, turned out to be false. Let the record stand. But, right around that time of Ninja getting 200,000 viewers, all these follows, he becomes number one follow, number one most subbed, and all this stuff. Like, Epic just all of a sudden releases a Twitch Prime pack, where if you have Twitch Prime, you get a free skin in Fortnite. And I feel like that was like, that happened, like, boom, boom. Ninja blows up, Twitch Prime pack immediately, and then the Twitch Prime stuff happens, right? Like, almost immediately. Like, they worked very fast, and they striked when the, like, iron was hot,
Yeah, and you have to hand it to them, because they understood the audience. They had, like, the good sense to see what was going on, what was popular, and how to actually take advantage of it. And the fact that they can turn this around in a few days, it's insane.
It is pretty crazy. I have a daughter who's in elementary school, and it's pretty crazy to just be like, kind of like nowadays, like walking around the school and there's like kids in Twitch hoodies. I remember when Fortnite was like a bigger thing. Like, I think kids are still playing it, but they were like talking about it or stuff like that. Like, kids were asking me if I knew about Twitch and stuff like that, because apparently their parents did. It was just very interesting to see kind of like this subculture develop, and like who people's favorite streamers are and stuff like that. I will say, I think we should touch on it as well, because it's all good things, but just Ninja's growth this year has been crazy, and what he's done for the Twitch platform, I think, is really, really good. Love him or hate him, whatever your opinion is of Ninja, that you don't like his family friendliness or his corniness or whatever it might be, to be completely honest, and I'll stick by this, I would rather have someone like him than who's family friendly, who is maybe a little bit cringy or whatever, maybe PG or family friendly, rather than some other people who are on the platform who might give Twitch a bad name, right?
Sure.
He was very marketable. He was on Ellen. He was on all these talk shows. It's crazy. He was on the cover of ESPN, like, magazine. It's just pretty crazy just to think how big he became. And I think that, for better or worse, I think for better, he's a good representative of what Twitch is, and watching his interviews and stuff too. Not only just his personality type on stream, but just watching his interviews as well. When they interview him for stuff or whatever, he's very honest about Twitch, and he presents it in a very like good light as well.
Yeah. I just remember those times where he had interviews, and he talked about advice that he would give like kids who want to become streamers, and he was very, very honest about like the prospect and like your chances of becoming successful as a streamer. Like, that's something that's actually very, very needed, because I think a person like going to streaming has to be grounded in that way. And I think, yeah, you're right. He's a pretty good influence, and he's something you can aspire to, but also keep you grounded. And he has a way of speaking that's like kind of down to earth, and you can relate to him. Like, it all goes back to, like, you saying that he's marketable. He's got that personality. He's got the way of speaking. He's got charisma. He's got the hair, which is basically his trademark now. But yeah, like, he's actually, you know what? I'm fine with him being the face of Twitch, because he is de facto the face of Twitch.
And just like other things in his interviews where he was just being realistic with people and kind of like pushing back on the mainstream media, but not in like a toxic or salty way, where basically like the number one question, or like probably the two number one questions I saw from any of his interviews was like, how do you make your money, obviously, and like, so all you do is play video games? Like, that's basically like the two questions. And I think like any other streamer would have been, I don't know, might have given off a different vibe, but just the way he like elegantly put it was like, he's like, I'm not just playing video games. That's like saying a baseball player is just playing baseball, and people will get mad at that. He's not just playing baseball. He's playing it at like peak performance. And you watch baseball players because it's not something that you can do, or it takes a lot of work and time, effort, and stuff. So I thought that was like really, really smart of him, because I feel like if there was any other representatives, they might give off a snarky comment or an immature type of thing, but like he really takes it with like humbleness, I feel like, and just like really explains it very well to the interviewers and stuff. So I think he deserves all his success. You know, funny story, when I first got onto Twitch, he was like the third person I ever followed on Twitch because he was streaming Halo at the time. So Ninja, respects. But he's been streaming. The thing is, too, a lot of people don't know this because of the Fortnite thing. He's been streaming on Twitch for like 7 years, 6, 7 years or something like that. He's been around for a long time. So he deserves all his success.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, with a name like Ninja, with like an OG name like that on the Twitch platform, like you had to be one of the first. He's been around.
Yeah, he's been around for quite a while. I don't know if there's anything else you wanted to kind of add about Fortnite.
I think all
right.
It.
I think second thing I wanted to talk about, and this is just for me personally, and I think that this kind of the bigger picture of this is kind of that the gaming scene has kind of changed this year a lot on Twitch. But you also, because of the big Fortnite boom, you also kind of saw for the first time ever League of Legends being dethroned. And I think that's a pretty big deal because it's always been up there with like Dota 2, Counter-Strike, like maybe Hearthstone, like a couple other games, right? And then like the flavor of the month, whatever the new release is, right? But League of Legends was always like in the 1 or 2 spot. And I mean, you still see League sometimes higher than Fortnite, right? I mean, but I think overall, I would say that Fortnite kind of dethroned League as like the quintessential number 1 game on Twitch. And I think that's a huge deal just to show like how different just how different the Twitch landscape has become.
Oh, absolutely, yeah. And I think this is really good because for the longest time, League has been at the top, like just esports in general. You want to like watch some sort of like competition, it's always League. But with Fortnite coming in, it changes things and it shakes it up so much so that it keeps people on their toes. And I like that because now we're going to start seeing changes in other games. And we're probably going to see a lot more development as far as like things to bring people back to watching League, or other games might come up. Like this, I like this because it creates this really awesome like competitive atmosphere. You know, it's always going to be this back and forth, like who can put out the game that's going to bring in the most viewers, the most eyes, which one's going to be the most fun to watch. So I like this because it just it changes.
It's good. I think that still, in my opinion, Fortnite probably needs to change a couple things about their competitive scene. Like the biggest complaint I hear from friends who don't really watch Fortnite esports or don't really care about it is it's just too random. Right? Like you drop in, you have 1 life, you just drop somewhere poorly, there's no weapons, some guy has a gold scar, you die, right? So they definitely need to flesh out their competitive scene in Fortnite, but it does show a ton of promise. Something else that I kind of wanted to swoop back to, I guess it counts the same for Fortnite and for League, but I think a big thing about Fortnite and why it became so popular as well is because it's a free game that doesn't feel free. And I think that's a big thing is that, and then for a lot of people who are playing it on console, that's like a huge thing. You don't really have to convince your parents to buy you the game. You don't have to like ask them, you know, or for Christmas you can just download it. And I think that's like something that's really good. And once you download it, it doesn't feel like a free game. And most people who listen to this podcast will know what that means and understand what that means for sure. Just like League of Legends did not feel like a free game when it came out. And really kind of League was like, from what I remember, one of the first like microtransaction-y games I really got into. It was way ahead of its time, I think, back in like 2008. You know what I mean? 2008, 2009, whenever it came out, right?
Right, yeah. No, I gotta hand some. Like, you can actually play Fortnite and not spend a single penny, and you can still get the same experience. As everybody
so
else.
I think that's really good. You know, I've had conversations with parents and stuff like that where, you know, they're like, "Oh wow, Fortnite sounds really cool. Like, how much does it cost?" And it's like nothing. Like they just assumed it was a paid game, and it's like no, it's free. It's nothing. So I think that was also a very big factor, as to why Fortnite became. You know, it's like, hey, we're all playing Fortnite. Let's play. It's like I don't have it. Well, it's free. Just download it, right? Just try it out, right? And I think that was a big factor into why. That and the crossplay connectivity that they pushed out super fast, the polishedness, but
and they actually kind of have to thank League of Legends for that ability because League, it was free, And it proved to everybody that this was actually possible. This sort of payment model was
Right, yeah.
possible. And it became successful. Fortnite said, or Epic said, hey, let's do this. You know, it's proven to work. So let's give it a shot.
Yeah, definitely. Kind of another thing that I kind of wanted to talk about, and I don't know if there's anything you wanted to add, but just kind of like smaller events that happen on Twitch. I can't really recall too many that I really enjoyed, but I think my number one for me personally is the return of Tyler 1 to League of Legends. If you guys didn't know, Tyler 1 was banned for a year. All of 2017, he was banned from League of Legends, and in January of 2018, he was unbanned from League and came back to I think about 400,000 viewers or something like that. Got into his first game, didn't get Draven because his opponent stream sniped him. They banned Draven. He couldn't play Draven his first game back. He ripped out his enter key right there and then, so he couldn't get banned and rage in the chat. And he started streaming, and you know, I don't know, something about T1 and just kind of like. I don't want to get into the controversies of Riot. There's been some pretty big, crazy things that have happened this year with them. But just to see, like the story of Tyler 1, and I don't even play League of Legends. I'll watch it competitively from here time to time, but I don't really watch it. It's just kind of crazy to see kind of like what happened with Tyler 1 in League of Legends. Where really like he was kind of, he was a jerk and he got banned for good reasons, and it was a first permaban ever for him. And then you weren't even allowed to make a fan sign at Riot or any Riot event that said free Tyler 1 or anything referring to Tyler 1, which I think is crazy. No mention of it whatsoever.
Dude.
It's just amazing to see him now, streaming it, and then also being invited to games. Like he hosted recently all League of Legends All Stars with Shocks. That is crazy to me.
Invited by Riot themselves to come.
He was on NALCS casting panel, like casting a game with them. Like it blows my mind that like now it's like everything's cool and stuff like that.
Right? This complete 180, like it's insane.
It is.
But yeah, like it just goes back to kind of like what we were talking about with Ninja. Like these people are not just playing games; it's creating a story. It's their personality and like this story that surrounds them. And this is really what it is to be like a streamer and to be a person and player on Twitch.
So I think that was kind of my personal like favorite moment of 2018 is just like like there's some others, but they're not really worth mentioning in my opinion. But they were that's probably the biggest I don't know, event for me, and just that kind of whole story through 2018 as well. Just not just Tyler 1 coming back to League, but like what happened after he came back and like what he's been doing for the League of Legends scene and stuff like that. He's one of the only streamers that I personally will watch if I see him go live or if he has some type of unique thing going on, right? So hats off to him. And good job to him. I don't know if there's anything that you wanted to mention in 2018, like from a Twitch standpoint, Twitch broadcasting standpoint, that was like pretty big for you. Like any big events that you could think of or whatever.
The only one that I can think of is it's TwitchCon for me. So I mean, TwitchCon, it's just a fantastic event just to go to and just meet people. Like I've said this so many times, but like it's just a really great way to meet the community that you're a part of and to meet the streamers that you watch. And honestly, there really isn't anything like it. It's an incredibly unique experience, and it keeps getting bigger every single year.
They need to sort that out. You guys know my stance on TwitchCon. I don't really care for it, but
Oh my god.
Because of these reasons, actually, to be honest.
Yeah, just because of everything that we talked about this entire podcast, we've got more viewers coming to Twitch than ever, more broadcasters than ever, more viewers in a single channel than ever. It's just gonna keep blowing up. Like we're to the point where we might have maybe like 100,000 plus people at a single convention. Like we're like a San Diego Comic-Con.
I think what they're hoping for, to be honest, is that Twitch Berlin takes off some of the strain of an actual TwitchCon. That's what I think.
Yeah.
Honestly, I think that's what they're planning to do.
That it makes a lot of sense too, because the convention is in April, and that is like halfway in between like two consecutive Twitch cons in NA, and so that will help relieve some stress for like the EU audience and for the EU streamers. And of course, there's going to be like streamers from all over the world going, but that was a good move. And yeah, I think to reiterate what I said like a couple of podcasts ago, we might see something that is like PAX,
right?
Where we have several in America, like the PAX East, PAX Prime, PAX South. We might see that with TwitchCon. We have TwitchCon East, like in New York, or TwitchCon South, and who knows where, maybe like Orlando or something.
I mean, yeah. Yeah, I definitely think that will happen. I think it will definitely give like some type of strain off of it or whatever. It's also another excuse for Twitch to really like announce double announcements. You know what I mean? And be able to like double announcement, double the new features, double all the events or whatever. So yeah, I agree with you. My hopes for TwitchCon is that I do plan to go in 2019, I think, depending on my schedule and stuff like that. My hopes for it is that they solidify a permanent type of location, like San Diego Comic-Con is always in San Diego type of thing, or BlizzCon is always in Anaheim type of thing. Just because I don't really like this shifting of venues and not really knowing, like, like I have a budget in mind and then it's like, it's in San Jose. I'm like, well, never mind, forget it. You know what I mean? Like, for me at least. I do jokingly say, but if I ever get partnered or something like that, I will buy a 3-day pass and go to TwitchCon, but I don't think that's going to happen anytime soon. But, we'll see. I don't know if there's anything else you wanted to add about TwitchCon, though, for you.
Not much other than that. I think another reason for them to push TwitchCon to multiple locations is to create public awareness for Twitch.
Yeah.
I mean, it's still kind of like in this weird phase where, I mean, it's not quite as well known as YouTube, obviously, but having a public presence multiple times a year is going to help a ton. Give like just people who don't watch TV, who don't watch like news or whatever, and are kind of casually into games, that being in a place like that gives them the opportunity to experience Twitch for the first time. And that could be extremely huge.
Definitely. I will also mention that probably the biggest event that happened in all of 2019 is that our podcast started. DeepThoughts podcast started, baby.
Yes.
In 2018, I mean, but we'll be bigger in 2019. I should probably add or whatever, but I don't know. It's a pretty big deal for me. It's something that I've always wanted to do since probably 2013 or 2014, but there was no real category to do so on Twitch, and I didn't really know what to talk about and stuff like that as well. So I do think that it's good that we started this podcast or whatever, and the support that we've had as well has been pretty crazy to me. And I know that unfortunately, because of Twitch news and stuff, we can't do a podcast episode every single week, but I'm glad that we are still producing content basically.
Yeah, and it's been fun.
Yeah, and it's been really good for both of us or whatever to do. So hopefully in 2019, our own panel at TwitchCon, minimum 300-person venue for that. All right, that's what I want. I want a meet and greet line at TwitchCon.
Oh, live,
dude! Could you imagine? Honestly, we're kind of off script right now, show notes right now. But could you actually imagine if that happened to us? That would be wild. That would be wild. I don't think it's ever gonna happen, but. That's the best thing that happened in 2018 or whatever. Hopefully this podcast is around next year in
we'll get some
in 2019. We're gonna get also we'll just be like selling out like hardcore in 2019 or whatever.
Oh my god. So
you can't see my camera right now, but I'm holding up a Starbucks mug and slowly drinking it. Just casually, just have casual sponsorship somewhere or whatever.
Yeah, exactly.
Man, my head hurts. You guys should take a leave. A leave is a great and just go and transition. So, no, maybe we'll get sponsorships. That'll be dope.
Cool.
But I think we can move on And I think that this will take a long time, or hopefully not a long time, to get through. But the last part, I guess, before we get into like really personal stuff, which will also be pretty brief too as well, is Twitch features. It's something that we can't skip. Basically, about 2018, a lot of features came out on Twitch that I feel like a lot of people kind of forget about, to be honest. That happened. I kind of want to start off by one that I forgot to put in the show notes that I just remembered, but that being that you could watch ads for bits. Came out in 2018. Very start of 2018, apparently. Yeah,
That's
so that
crazy.
happened apparently, which I thought was pretty cool. I don't know, there's not much to add about that. I just think that's, something that people forget. Like, just little things like that I think people forget about or whatever.
Man, yeah, I felt like that was here since 2017.
I don't know. I don't think so. I think it was announced.
Wow.
Maybe I'm wrong, but someone can look it up and check. But yeah, moving on though, I will also add that we also had the new TOS, Twitch TOS come out. You know what I'm saying? That's all. I don't know if there's anything else you want to add about that, Pixel. You have the floor on that one. But the TOS came out. It's new. It's supposed to enforce a bunch of stuff. Really, all it is it.
Is it really new?
It's supposed to cover certain bases and certain guidelines. If a streamer breaks, they're able to get you for. That's all.
I mean, I'm just reading this TOS, and I don't really see anything new about it. Like,
I know.
It kind of restates a few things, and it's like,
it's a little bit more like specific.
Yeah, it was not really like worth all the hype that they threw around. Like, hey, we got a new TOS, everybody read it.
Yeah, I know.
It's like changing a few words.
I remember when it first got announced, and people were like freaking the heck out.
Yeah, I remember that. Like, people were talking about deleting.
People are like, my stream's over. We're done. It's done.
Yeah, like the amount of like paranoia and fear was insane, and then like nothing happened.
Yeah. I will say, I think kind of what a bigger concern to me, kind of like you mentioned deleting VODs and stuff like that, but 2018, I feel like, was also the rise of clipping. If you guys don't know what clipping is, it's where you can click the button in the bottom right hand of any stream and make a clip up to a minute long, a minute in the past, and it basically is just like a small looping video. And clipping became a huge thing in 2018. They purchased the official clipping thing, I think, near the end of 2017, but just in 2018, so many clips are like so much stuff is being clipped, and it's caused a lot of issues, I think, for a lot of streamers. And one of the things that I've noticed as well is just like certain subreddits where you can post, certain clips of people doing funny things, fails, wins, whatever you want to call them, right? And it's just interesting to see because, when I first started Twitch, there would be some drama with some type of streamer or something like that. Maybe a handful of people would hear about it, but there was no real like video evidence that it actually happened. And now with these clips, they're just everywhere. You know what I mean? And it's very interesting to see like things being clipped out of context and being posted online to make someone look like this way or that way. And it's just interesting. Clipping became huge in 2018, I feel like, as well.
Yeah. Ever since the clipping tool, I can't remember what it's called, forgot. But you're able to.
Oh my gosh! It had like a blue icon.
Yeah, you're like. I don't remember what it's called, but like the ability to like create a certain length of a clip. Going back in time, scrubbing it all around, and like having those tools really made clipping take off. And I don't know if you remember what it was like before that, but you had to time it just right in order to clip the moment you wanted, and it was 30 seconds only. That you couldn't stretch it to any like to a minute.
You couldn't even rename it too.
So like I had to figure out like, okay, from the point in time which I click this button, how far back is this clip going to start? And I was like, it came to about like 10 to 15 seconds. So you would wait for that moment to pass. You're like, okay, count, like start in your head. 10, 9, 8, and then click.
And then you're hoping that the streamer didn't do anything like extra interesting during that like 10-second period.
Yes. I was like, this is the most ridiculous
Yeah.
thing
And you
ever.
can even change the titles of clips, which now I feel like is even worse because people just clickbait like the title of a clip all the
Oh yeah.
time. Which is interesting.
Hmm.
But yeah, the year of clipping happened too, I feel like in 2018, which caused a lot of drama for a lot of people. And I feel like
Hmm.
exposed a lot of people.
And it did. But like everything else on Twitch, it also has like a silver
Hmm.
lining because so many people's streaming channels have exploded
Right,
because of
yeah.
clips. Like because let's take Sweet Anita for
Yeah.
one, like just watching a few of her clips and you get a sense of who she is, what her channel is all about, and like why you
Hmm.
should watch
Hmm.
her from just like a 30-second clip. And that's exactly what clips are meant to be, like just a really quick snapshot of
Hmm.
you. And it's just a 30-second clips. People have really short attention spans nowadays.
Yeah.
So most people that only have that much time and attention span to give you. So this has been like a great thing for people who are just starting streaming and just having something unique to give to the community, and you can just find that really easily. You can spread that and share that really
Yeah,
easily.
definitely. So it is kind of like a double-edged sword in a way, but I mean, I think it's more beneficial than
Mhm.
anything. It's also nice to just when you're talking about Twitch with your friends or whatever, to be able to be like, "Hey, check out this clip," and if they choose to, they can watch the rest of the VOD or something, right? But yeah,
Mhm.
clipping
Right.
blew up for sure this year. A couple other things that happened, which were kind of small but kind of big deals as well. Extensions really took off this year on Twitch. There's mobile extensions now where you can put multiple up on your screen. They do things like
Mhm.
a deck tracker for a card game, or you can hover over and find your Twitch Prime button and click that and resub just from the extensions. I don't think much has actually happened with extensions, but it is a feature that I feel like that should be mentioned because it is around.
Mhm.
But it doesn't seem like they really there there hasn't been that many extension. There's been some really useful ones for sure, but I think the majority of them are
Mhm.
just pertaining to like one game or something like that. And they just kind of save a
Right.
step here or there. A WoW Armory thing, a now playing Spotify thing, a Hearthstone deck tracker
Mhm.
thing. Just very simple extensions. I feel like there's some cool ones, but they're very rarely used. The interactive ones, or the ones where you can kind of play a
Mhm.
game or something like that while you're watching the streamer. Those didn't really
Yeah.
ever take off, but extensions are pretty
Mhm.
useful in my opinion.
Yeah.
Especially the panel
They're
ones.
pretty
I'm
useful.
talk. I like the panel ones more than the ones that are
Mhm.
I guess called overlay extensions. The panels are very
Mhm.
useful.
Yeah. And I kind of wonder if they're limited because they don't want it accessing like certain
Hmm.
APIs or something like that. They're taking control of certain things. Like it'd be kind of interesting if an extension could control like your Spotify playlist or
Right,
something like
right.
that.
And I don't. I don't think it's gonna
So
happen anytime soon. Yeah.
no, I think it was purposely like um
Hmm.
crippled in
Hmm.
that
For
way.
sure. Another thing
Yeah.
is VIP badges came out, which is pretty recent, but
Oh
technically
yeah.
it was announced in 2018, so whatever. VIP badges came out.
Mhm.
Once again, pretty cool for streamers to use if they want to moderate or not moderate, if they want to give special permissions to regulars in their stream or to IRL friends or
Mhm.
to other streamers as well. I've actually seen it being
Right.
used mostly in just like in streamers VIPing other streamers.
Yeah,
Less
yeah, that's a
than
big one.
VIPing people who keep coming, like normies, that normal viewers that keep coming by, not normies, but you know what I mean. I think
Mhm,
is
mhm.
probably the right way of using it, and is probably the way that maybe Twitch intended, because a lot of times you mod your friends who are also streamers, but they're not necessarily there all the time, but you still want them to stand
Right.
out. Even for
Mhm.
myself, having a pretty small stream, there was a lot of people that I unmodded because they're never around, but they do come in maybe once a month or something like that, who I now just gave VIP to. Because I didn't want them to
Mm,
be,
mhm.
because they don't really watch my stream or pay attention, so I don't want them to come in like ban someone or do something weird, and they technically have a moderator symbol on them, right? Now they're just like a VIP. So
Right.
I think the feature was well received.
Yeah, no, it was a good change.
Definitely. Next up, we also have roles were added, which is kind of the same thing. It's kind of intertwined with VIPs, but I like the fact that now there is a, something on your dashboard where you can see all your moderators. You don't have to type /mods and figure that out, and
Mm,
you can easily just unmod, mod, VIP, give people editor access as well. So, good
yeah.
job, Twitch, on that one as well. The last two, which are pretty big, is I guess we'll go with gifted subs became a thing this year.
Mm,
I think as beneficial, if not more beneficial, than Twitch Prime. It it is one
yeah.
of those things that I've kind of been talking a lot about on this podcast and other podcasts I do, but you really have seen a decline on just straight up monetary donations, just straight up someone giving $5 or someone giving $20 or someone giving $15.
Mhm.
You're seeing a huge decline in that ever since. I don't think cheering has really taken that over, but I don't think cheering obviously cheering was used to counter donating to a streamer directly to PayPal, right? Because you can't charge back. There's
Yes.
all the fees are already included in your purchase, etc. And then the streamer gets 100%.
Hmm.
But I think that really gifting is something that they were really trying to go after, and I think that really killed like PayPal donations. It's very rare for me to receive or for me to
Hmm.
see other streamers receive a straight up $5 donation. If anything, it's 500 bits, which is $5, or it's a gifted sub to somebody
Hmm.
else. And yeah,
Yeah.
I think gifted subs was pretty huge. Why not just gift some people some subs? They first announced it this year, and you were able to gift individual users. So if I wanted to gift Pixel, I would have to go into the chat and gift a sub to Pixel
Hmm.
underscore pusher 101. And then a few months down the line,
Hmm.
they announced community gifting, which also once again I feel like
Hmm.
exploded the Twitch
Oh,
scene as well,
absolutely.
where you
Yeah.
can literally just say, I want to donate or I want to gift or really donate 10 subs, which is a $50 donation, and just donate that.
Hmm.
Or I want to gift 3 subs, and that's a $15 donation, right there. And it really keeps everything into the Twitch ecosystem. It tempts the person who got gifted into resubbing, which
Hmm.
is more money for Twitch. So I think gifting was a huge
Right.
thing that happened this year.
Yeah, and not only that, but like you also have to think about like the fringe benefits that you get from
Hmm.
gifting subs, because when you just gift like a huge bash, you can actually you still like get points for those. So the streamer can unlock more emote slots from
Right.
these gifted subs. You don't actually need like people to sub. You just have one really 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 generous
Hmm.
person and just have them
Yeah, or
unlock
even
it.
the streamer can gift subs themselves.
Exactly. Yeah, yeah. I've seen that quite a bit too, where like they'll have a
Hmm.
subathon where they will gift just hundreds of subs out just
Hmm.
cause or like any or they'll match gifted subs. I've seen that more
Yeah.
often actually. Like the community gifts 100 and the streamer also gifts 100 random subs, and so it becomes like this really really interesting like community interaction. Just like going back and forth. It's really
Yeah,
cool.
definitely. And it's smart because also I think earlier this year I should or 2018 I should say earlier in 2018 they also announced that once you unlock emo slots you can't lose them. So I think that was really smart,
Right.
and I think that was also something to respond to Twitch Prime because people would Prime sub to a bunch of people. They would get like 8 new emote slots, and then they would lose those 8 emote slots like the next month or something like that. So also, with this
Horrible.
gifting, no way to lose them. So that's a good point as well. But the gifting subs was
Yeah.
pretty. Yeah, it's very lucrative for Twitch. It's very beneficial for people, and there's really it makes the streamer and broadcaster feel better. For me
Mhm.
personally, I would rather somebody gift 4 subs rather than donate me $20, right? Because I know that that
Mhm.
money is going to me for sure, and I won't have to deal with chargebacks or fraudulent cards or
Mhm.
something in that type of way, right? It's less likely for
Right.
me to happen, and it just kind of makes the broadcaster feel a little bit more secure about their money that's coming in. Um, I know that like a lot of streamers were like, "Yeah, I don't touch my PayPal donations for 90 days because you have 90 days to charge back." On PayPal, which is kind of
Mhm.
ridiculous. So that was like a lot of
Yeah.
income that they just couldn't touch. And so it's nice to see. Twitch doing the gifted subs this year for sure. Also, you can gift anonymously too if you don't want to be known or whatever, or don't want to get recognition. There's also an option now to gift anonymously, which is nice as well. I guess last for Twitch features is IRL died this year, which was a big thing, and tags happened. And new categories happened, which, this is, I saved this one for last because really this is the reason why we started the podcast, was because I think one of the first episodes was actually talking about this and the implementations of it and what could happen from it. And so I don't know if there's any much more we could add to it. I don't really want to add much more to it because we spent like literally 4 episodes of this podcast talking about it. But IRL died. Tags came, which I think are great. I like them. You can now tag up to I think 7 or 8 times, and then tags last for 24 hours or 72 hours. Sorry, whereas they used to only last until after the broadcast was done, which is nice. And then the new categories came out: just chatting, ASMR, working out, a bunch of other stuff. So far we haven't really seen any strict regulations on those. It seems like most people are just flocking back to just chatting, and there's no real moderation, something that we kind of called here. It doesn't really matter how many categories they have in IRL or how many times they split it up unless Twitch actually forces moderation. That being said, I feel like the categories are still a good thing. I have friends that do cooking, I have friends that do travel and outdoor, and they will put themselves in cooking or travel and outdoor or art, and it seems like they're getting more viewers now than they used to. I think it's actually more beneficial for them to go over there than it is to just go into the just chatting nowadays. But that's just my thing. Another thing that I think is really helpful is that when the tags came out, I think just having language tags has helped me personally a lot when it comes to people viewing my stream, as well as me finding a stream that I want to enjoy. When I'm browsing someone or browsing Hearthstone or browsing Fortnite or PUBG or whatever game it might be, it's really nice to just be able to say, hey, I want only broadcasters in English. And it filters all those people out who don't speak English or a language that I don't understand, and being able to find someone quickly. I really, really like that feature of tags.
Yeah. Especially if you want to find something that's very specific. It's really, really useful. Like sometimes I'll want to find a game that's like a blind playthrough or something like that. Or if they're new to the game and I want to watch someone who's new to the game and wants to experience it for the first time, like those are tags that I can use, and those are really helpful for me.
It's also helped me personally with my growth on Twitch because people can now filter streams out with just language barriers. So whereas before maybe I was, I don't know, top 80, top 100 on Twitch, with the new English feature that might even bump me to like top 20 in some games. A couple nights ago I was playing Monopoly on stream, and there was like 1,000 or 2,000 viewers in total in the Monopoly category, but I was the top English broadcaster for Monopoly after you applied the filters and stuff like that. So it's just really nice to see that type of stuff. The filter system is super, super good. I've really enjoyed it. I think it has worked wonderfully compared to what was it before? The communities. The communities thing didn't really pretty much useless. Didn't really care for that. So okay, I guess last up is personal stuff, which is just personally our year of Twitch and how it's affected us, what we've thought about it, and all that type of good stuff. Pixel, go first. I'll let you go first on this one.
Well, I mean, the biggest event that was Twitch related for me was that I became a moderator for Dear Nadia. For those who don't know, she is a former Hearthstone streamer. She does play it every now and then. She's a variety streamer now, but she's a really cool person, and I was really glad to get to know her and to be a part of her mod team.
Yeah, definitely. I think for me, it goes back, the first one being that, I made this podcast. I think it has been pretty rewarding and pretty fun and pretty cool to see it still going, and to create content outside of Twitch has made me feel less of a grind from streaming. Something that I kind of wanted to maybe, like, I think we said this like 4 times already, but I do want to talk about like mental health and stuff like that on Twitch when it pertaining to being a streamer or a new streamer or whatever. But for me personally, 2018 was a year where I did not stream a lot consistently. And I feel a lot of that came from me really caring about my numbers, but then also just feeling the grind. It was like I would tweet out, I would go on stream, I would stream for like 2 to 3, 4 hours almost every single day and maybe get 2 viewers if I'm lucky, or 5, 6 viewers, maybe if I'm lucky, and then just turning that off and just being like, man, I wasted like 3 hours on that. Like, that's kind of how I felt. I think for 2018, it was really good for me to make this podcast because I didn't think it was I did it as like a passion project with Pixel, and we didn't think that we would get like any views or any downloads or any streams from it because like my Twitch numbers were not that big. And then to just see like an overwhelming support outside of Twitch made me be like, oh, this is really cool. And to kind of make Twitch be just like a small cogwheel in my grand scheme of things has been really rewarding and really refreshing for me. Because it's put a lot of pressure off of me. Because I've seen a lot of streamers this year, personal friends that I've made who are smaller streamers, really get into streaming. I mean, like 4 hours in the morning, 4 hours at night, or 6 hours every day. And now, at the end of 2018, I've lost touch with them. I don't see them anymore because they've just stopped streaming in general because they burned out. And it's been kind of refreshing for me to do this podcast and kind of get into other stuff. And it kind of is nice because it keeps me on somewhat of a schedule as well. I know, oh, Wednesdays is this, Thursdays is this. I got to prep for this and I kind of have to do this or whatever. So that's been kind of nice as well. Secondly, I think like one of the big things that's happened this year is that I became a moderator for a man named Fedmeister at twitch.tv/Fedmeister. Most of you guys should know about this as well. But he is a variety streamer as well as IRL streamer. He used to be the editor for a group of streamers called Offline TV, and then became his own content creator. And I actually got moderated, I believe, a week or two after he got partnered on Twitch. I applied through like this mod application thing, and I guess they just chose me. But they needed more moderators because he had just gotten partnered. And so I've been moderating for him since probably early March, I want to say, of this year.
Sounds about right. Actually, that's about the same
yeah,
time I got
so
married.
I think that's been pretty cool. Been pretty rewarding and gotten a lot of experience from it and stuff, and it's been pretty fun to do as well. It's both Pixel and I streams are pretty big, but I don't want to brag or anything like that. I'm not trying to throw shade at any streamer, but you know, his stream is pretty massive, and it can get like pretty overwhelming sometimes, as Pixel knows, you know, with how it goes. But yeah, I think that's definitely some good place to end it. I think. Really, is there anything else you want to add? Personal stuff? Anything else about Twitch? We're still friends, I guess. We're still friends since 2016. That's been good.
No, I think that's it. You know, I'm still hoping to stream at some.
Yeah, man. What the heck?
Some point in time. I know, right?
Eventually, we'll stream or whatever. You start streaming, I'll resub. You'll get an easy $5 from that, I guess.
All right.
Awesome. Anyway, guys, that's gonna do it for us today. But before we go, Pixel, as always, where can they find you on the interwebs?
As always, you guys can find me on my Twitch. That is Pixel_Pusher101, or Twitter without the underscore is Pixel_Pusher101.
Awesome. You can follow me, Ryan, on Twitch, Twitter, or Instagram at Ryan Kubo, RyanKubo. All one word, all lowercase as well. Also, like I said at the top of the show, follow the podcast on Spotify and iTunes. In the episode description, you can find links to that, and the episodes are pretty much uploaded immediately after we are done recording them as well. You can also follow on YouTube if you want to check out any of the edited VODs for the podcast as well at Shigeos Twitch TV. That's SHIGEOS Twitch TV, all lowercase, all one word as well. I'm not sure when our next episode's going to be, guys. Hopefully, it will be in a couple of weeks. Hopefully, maybe sooner. But until then, guys, we will catch you later. Hope you guys enjoyed our 2018 year in review. Later, guys.
See you guys. Thanks, sir. Thanks for everything.